Okay, so passing it out to you, a little special announcement.
Yeah, so I just want to use this opportunity to announce that Insomniac Classics Records is launching this year.
Festiie fam, the time is now. Festival goers unite. Welcome to the Festiie Files podcast, where we highlight the creative and inspiring individuals who each collectively come together and bring to life the festival experience, the festival community. So if you're watching this at home and you attend festivals, if you're somebody backstage at a festival, if you're dancing on stage, or if you're dancing in the crowd as if no one's watching, or if you're the person who's providing the beats, we each play an integral piece in the puzzle, aka the beautiful festival experience. My name is Desmond Beristain, CEO and founder of Festiie, Festival Smart Band. And today, I'm so stoked to announce and get this guy on the podcast. Such an inspiring story, inspiring soul. This guy is an OG. Let's just start there. Over 25 years as an OG in the hardcore techno scene. He is an OG of Electric Daisy Carnival, Insomniac. Herb Magazine even referred to him as the godfather of West Coast hardcore techno. And he's actually played so many first-time festivals. Literally, this is the first ever Cyberfest, the first ever this festival. Like, being a part of that's history in the making. He makes cameos and features in Insomniacs Together as One documentary. He's the head of Insomniac Classics, Dimitry Granovsky, a.k.a. DJ Demigod. DJ Demigod, welcome to the Festiie Files podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on here.
Oh, thanks for joining us. I mean, and fresh off EDC. So that kind of, to everybody listening, like, who is DJ Demigod? I'm like 5 years into the festival scene, right? You got decades over me. And I think it's super important to, obviously, you pay your homage to, to the older generation, but also learn from history. So let's get into it. You just performed basically a set at EDC Virtual Rave-a-thon, spur of the moment. And let's talk about that before we get into your personal history, because how'd that come about? I mean, literally that was trending, and that's what led us to reach out, because those are the type of stories and energies that we need right now. You know, that was super comforting and beautiful to watch. An amazing set, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, it was definitely unexpected. What I was doing was I was just chilling with Pasquale, his girlfriend Alexis, just enjoying the moment and the atmosphere, hanging out with the team, watching the broadcast. I was there on Friday, went on Saturday. We drove up together. I picked him up from his house. And just a little backstory. I know in the broadcast, Pasquale said, so do you always roll around with your USB in your pocket? And I swear that was the first time I ever brought it with me. And it's crazy how it worked out, because on Saturday, I left the house, I set the alarm, I got in my car, and a voice literally said, go back and get your USB. So I pulled back in my driveway, went inside the house, grabbed the USB, and this universe is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It was so unexpected. And I was chilling backstage, hanging out with Lexus, and I just shotgun a claw, and all of a sudden, Pasquale comes running up, and I haven't seen this look in his eyes in like forever. But it was like a bit of like a panic and a worry. He's like, dude, you got your music on you? And I was like, hell yeah, I do. And he's like, all right, man, let's get on. I'm like, okay. So I walk up to where the curtain is, and then I see what's going on. The DJ that was about to go on, I guess his file was corrupted on his USB. He didn't have a backup. And before I knew it, I was like running up there, and just to be there for Insomniac and for all the headliners, and to step in like that was such an amazing opportunity to help the fam and to help just the whole Insomniac like movement, you know, because like I don't know what would have happened there for the 15 minutes I was on, and just to be able to step up like that was a blessing beyond belief. And the way it worked out with me going back and getting that USB it was mind blowing. Like I can't get over that. I never have it on me.
Dude, yeah. When I heard that story, I was like, well, that really happened. Like this guy just had his USB, and you're just ready for the moment. And I think it's beautiful on so many levels, right? And as you mentioned, it's the universe working its magic. And you know, we're all at home right now and looking for something to do. We're trying to stay positive. We all got to understand, like, the universe is going to be there for us, and being ready, staying ready. You know, one of the reasons why we kicked off this podcast is so that we can each reflect, self-reflection as a community, you know, how we can make the festival literally experience a better place. So when we get back out there, we're more aware, more cognizant, and it's about working on it now and being ready now. And I mean, it's just super cool that, so literally you just jumped on the decks and just got down. And I mean,
Yeah.
talk about that from a mental standpoint.
Well, the first thought that ran into my mind is, you know, you have to balance, because you have to think of the show. You have to think of, in this case, it was the broadcast. And I can't just go in there willy-nilly and play something that doesn't fit the setting and the time and the circumstances, you know. And I'm not trying to show off anyone. I want to keep the flow going, you know, like real DJs did and I think still do, you know. Like you're thinking about like the audience, and you're thinking about like the bigger picture. It's not about me promoting my new song or anything along those lines. Is I wanted to create a continuity of music and the vibe. And so I didn't want to come in and be like, bam, you know, like yeah. I wanted to create a mood, promote this like feeling of positivity. And so I knew right away I have to drop something that's positive and happy and just creates a vibe and it feels. So the first thought that ran to my head was, dang, what am I going to play? And in that moment, I made the decision to play sort of that genre, sort of that kind of classic, trancey, progressive. You know, it's like I'm all about playing music that connects people to awesome memories. And I said this on the Nocturnal broadcast, but I'm all about Insomniac Classics. Like I've devoted my complete soul, being, time, energy, all of it to this endeavor. And it's about nostalgia. It's about connecting to memories. It's about good feelings. It's about just creating a moment where we connect with our best raving selves. And to a lot of people, there are certain songs that just automatically trigger this part of their brain that makes them go, oh my God, I was in the desert dancing under the sunrise for that song. Or like, I kissed like this, like, you know, this girl or this boy, like, you know, at this festival, it was like magic and the song was playing. And so I spend a lot of time like imagining and thinking about and remembering what those specific songs are. And that's really how I went into that set. Is I want to use this really short amount of time, because I didn't know it could have been 5 minutes, 10 minutes, could have been an hour. So I wanted to create like a mini trip, even if it was only like a 12-minute trip, but like take the audience on a trip, which is, I think, the real purpose of any good DJ is you're trying to take the crowd, the audience, on a journey, you know. And when it's 10 minutes, it's tougher, you know, because there's an intro, there's an escalation, there's a plateau, there's a descent, you know, there's peaks and there's valleys. So all that stuff was running through my head as I was picking out the tracks to play. And it just worked out so beautifully. I'm glad, like, in that moment I picked out those tracks I did, because I've received a lot of great feedback, like, oh, you played Tokami, you know, you started off with Brain Bug. And I think, like, one of the reasons I was able to do that is how you opened the show, highlighting experience, you know, and that's what I fell back on, because I'm not gonna lie, I was super anxious, you know, like, and it was unexpected. So the one thing that gets me through, like, instances like that DJing, is just knowing I've had hundreds and hundreds of moments like that are unexpected. You know, when you're playing on turntables and you turn around and to grab a record out of your crate, and you come back and someone swipes a slip mat. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you do in that moment? You know, like, what do you do when you're playing in the desert and something knocks something over, or like some naked guy runs up and like does something. Like, you always have to be able to react, and that's when I really tap into my experience, and I'm just blessed to have that to rely upon.
Yeah, that was an amazing, and you can sense it. You could sense the energy. Like, that's one thing to me. I was like, man, this guy's, I can feel his energy through his set, through the music he's playing, and then just like his intent. And then, you know, even at the end of the set, you know, there Pasquale was kind of saying some words, and you guys were talking. You were so hyped, and just, it was just like this emotional charge. And even talk about that at the end when you're like, wow, I just performed at EDC on this much notice.
Well, you know, the last time I really performed, like, I played a couple years ago, but it was in Rainbow Road, and it was on a side stage, and it was really, it was small, it was unannounced, but this was really the main stage at EDC Vegas, on a such grander scale than when I did my last announced EDC, which was 2004. And that moment was not lost on me. Like, I was aware of the numbers that were people of tuning in, like how much of our audience was listening, and you know, just talking to people backstage, talking to Cheetah and Nick and Bunny, and we had like over 1 million people across the platforms. Yeah. So I had to represent Insomniac in the best way possible, especially with Pasquale doing that intro, saying, you know, this is one of the very first Insomniac DJs. So, like, no pressure, right? You know, like, and Insomniac is life to me. It's no exaggeration. It's how I identify my way of being, how I live my life, that mentality. It's engraved in me. Like, my whole house is like owls, and you know, my license plate on my car says Insomniac, and yeah. You know, it's so engraved in me. So that moment of being able to step up for Insomniac and connect with the company and do it for my best friend Pasquale, none of that was lost on me. So I know I looked like I was just freaking out a little bit, but that was pure happiness and joy and excitement. And with all that, I was still so serious about it. You know, like I was taking that moment and not going in just willy-nilly. Like I was going in as professionally as I could, even if it looked like I was just, I've read some comments online. They're like, dude, that guy's rolling balls. I wasn't rolling balls, but I was definitely feeling the ecstasy of the moment.
Exactly, yeah. You're feeling, I mean, who wouldn't be if that happened? You naturally would tap into that level, but then you said you were still like, boom, but focusing in. It's you know, the art of a performer.
Yeah, it was a job. It was absolutely a job, but it was a job that I loved more than anything. And I'm just, man, what? As you can see, I'm still buzzing.
Honestly, like, even for myself, like, because like a startup company, like we're Festiie, right? We started about 4 years ago, and wow, you've seen it. You've seen what you have to really go through to start your own company, ups and the downs. And honestly, like what moves me and makes me emotional is like when that time comes when you are running around, you're like, shoot, like, and then you have a teammate, someone who's been there with you, and they step up and they got you. I mean, like, damn, you know, that's where it's like, wow, it's that was so beautiful, you know. And then like, you know, even after the set, when Pascal said like you were so emotionally charged, and of course, like it was just honestly, it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen like happen, and it was so real and authentic and genuine. And I feel like with EDC being that burst of positivity, um, this past weekend, right, and the waves are still going to be felt, you know, and that was part of it. Like, hey guys, it's life. When something happens, you know what? We comfort each other and we find a solution.
Yeah.
And then that solution could end up being something extremely beautiful and inspiring for so many people.
Yep, that's the Insomniac way of life, 100%. And there was nothing staged about that. There was nothing pre-planned, from the music to being called up to the USB, his USB breaking down. There was nothing pre-planned about that. And so I think that spontaneity, I have a hard time saying that word, spontaneity,
yeah,
was 100% legit. It was real and it was in the moment. And I think that's actually one of the things that attracts so many people to the rave scene, is that living in the moment, you know, and experiencing life right there, right then, with the people that you're around. And hopefully that those 15 minutes was really symbolized that, you know, like it was really like what was happening there was 100% real. All the feelings were genuine. And you know, like I was afterwards, I was looking at the crew's faces and everything. Everyone's like lit up, you know, like, because it was like real. Mm-hmm. You know, and we all experienced this moment. And that's the great thing that happens at all the Insomniac festivals. It's like people experiencing that moment in time together that may never happen again. And they'll always have those memories. And I am buzzing still.
Dude, for sure. 100%. Like, it was so cool. Even I was like, man, he's killing it. Like, I was like, he's playing all the stuff. Like, and then that's when I looked you up and I was like, man, he's an OG. And so let's get into that, because I mean, yeah, I still feel electricity, and we're gonna feel it for a while, because that was like really, like I said, one of the coolest things. Let's talk about your history, like, you know, you yourself with DJing and then growing with Insomniac, you know, like you've literally seen it all. And I feel like that perspective is something that listeners really want to hear
about. Yes. Like, so I want to, I guess, preface what I'm going to say is that Insomniac creates magic, and it really changes lives. And it changed my life from the moment I walked into that Friday Weekly. From the moment I had my first conversation with Pasquale, I flipped my whole life around at that point, because I started off raving in the Bay Area, in San Francisco. So when I first started in '92, that's where I was raving out at. And there was an opportunity for me to go down to LA, just spur of the moment, with a buddy. So we went down there and we stumbled across, I think it was the second maybe it was like the second or third Friday Weekly that he did. And I went in there just like a kid in a candy store. I was like, I can't believe like this has this type of energy. And
for all the viewers, can you explain what a Friday Weekly is? Because what if you're
yeah,
like, Friday Weekly, what's that?
So the first year of Insomniac, he did a Friday Weekly, which meant that every Friday he put on a rave. And he moved it around to different locations, from Crenshaw and Slauson to the Hollywood Soundstage to the Gotham Club. So every Friday basically was a new location, as long as he could use it for. And it would go on from dusk to dawn. And, it was completely underground. People would have to call up a voicemail, and it would be his recording, and he would give directions to a map point usually. And then you go to the map point, which, sometimes they had it like a 01 art gallery back when it used to be on Melrose, or it was like a taco truck. And then you go there, and then you'd get a map, and then you'd follow the map, and then you'd get to the location. Sometimes he wouldn't have the map point. Sometimes we would just go straight to the location. But it was always a journey. It was like an adventure, and that was part of the experience. It was like a treasure hunt, like you get your crew together, and then you just go find this underground rave, and then you get there, and it would just be like a wall of speakers. It'd be like the DJ in the corner, and at that point, the DJ really wasn't like the focal point. It was like the wall of sound. Like the bigger the wall, the better. And so when I walked in there, I was like, oh, I'm moving to LA like next week. So at that point, I was going to a continuation school where if you do like a bunch of work, you can like finish quicker. I went back, and I think I was up for like 4 days, just like I'm gonna graduate next week. I'm out of here. I finished it up, packed up a U-Haul truck, found a little studio apartment off Festiie and Sunset, moved in. And every Friday after that, if I wasn't DJing the Friday weekly, I was raving at it. I was doing both at the same time. So he did that for a whole year, and then which was incredible, because it was, like there were like cops after it, they would try to bust it up, it wasn't like the cool raves were not cool back then. It was a bunch of misfits. It was people who didn't fit in other areas of their life, and that's what attracted me. Is like I didn't really fit in with sort of life in general at that point. And then when I found raves, I felt a real sense of community and bonding, and I felt that I was I wasn't being judged, and the all are welcome creed, that's been there since day one.
Wow.
And it felt like these are like my brothers and sisters, and we're just like raving out together. It was the greatest thing. And so I moved down. He ran Insomniac the Friday Weekly for a year. Then he did Nocturnal Wonderland, which was the first massive. We used to call them massives, but now they're festivals. And and then EDC came. Electric Daisy, it was called beforehand. That came. Willy Wonka's Adventure. I mean, it just snowballed from there, and the scene grew. So the massives grew, and they grew, and there were 3 lulls in the LA scene specifically. There was this thing called the Rave Act that came around at one point that knocked the scene down like 60-70%. There was the crack house law, 9/11. So we would gain attendance, and we would grow, and it would get bigger and more accepted, and then it would come crashing down. And throughout all of this, promoters came and they went. Big promoters, big events, they just fell up by the wayside. But the one thing that kept Insomniac going was Pasquale's sacrifice. He sacrificed everything for years and years, like to make it through those good times, and specifically those hard times. And
what do you mean when you say everything? Like
maxing out credit cards.
As an up and coming entrepreneur, I'm like, okay, I think I know what he means, but he pulled it off. So I really want to know what everything means. It's super inspiring.
Leveraging all your financial resources, even resources you don't have, you have to borrow, to to keep this momentum of Insomniac going. And there were instances, where the law, was cracking down. There's this one instance where, like events would get shut down like the day before, like big events, like Electric Daisy Carnival, like the day before loses its location. Like, what do? The show has to go on. So you sacrifice and you brainstorm it and you problem solve and you do whatever it takes. You hit up all the DJs and you let them know, okay, it's not here, it's here. You contact, all the headliners, you let them know, okay, we got a new location, production, like whatever it takes. And that motto sustained Insomniac through all of the ups and the downs. And not only is Insomniac now really the last great rave brand standing, it's just the greatest rave brand standing, period, like worldwide. I am so proud to have been there from the beginning. It's it literally almost makes me tear up, because I don't know where my life would be. I may have dropped out of raving. I may have stopped DJing, but raves in general, but specifically Insomniac, has given me so much in life, and all I want to do is give back. And so, like this last weekend at the virtual rave-a-thon, that was just one little tiny way for me to give back and to kind of step up in that situation. And so to go back to your question, I think the two words that I could say, like to any entrepreneur or to any budding DJ, music producer, event organizer: passion and sacrifice. Passion and sacrifice. Wake up in the morning, passion and sacrifice. If you put those two elements into your daily life and you work towards it, amazing things will happen. Life-changing things will happen. And Insomniac is proof positive that that's 100% real.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And you just mentioned it, like, things happen, and it's not always this straight line. It's probably never this straight line trajectory. It's gonna be, this swirl of a wave and roller coaster. But you just said, if you have passion and sacrifice, you're willing to accept that. And how many times did Insomniac have to just kind of maneuver through the times? I mean, the beautiful thing that happened this weekend, it was just like paying homage to like something you guys have gone through 20 years, over 20 years. It's like to see that and be like, man, like that might be the spirit itself, and like, oh, we still got it. We're still here. We still have each other's back. And that's like what makes it so beautiful, and that was a 35-minute set, by the way. You killed it. And that was like a 35-minute set. So I got to give you the full credit on that one.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, it's super cool to like watch that blossom bloom, but not just watch it. You're a part of that. So I mean, thank you. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for being ready and finding solutions. And staying positive, because even at a time right now, that's what's going to get people through things, right? So we want everyone at home, like, to know that we are going to be back out there having a great time. In the midst of all this, we're coming up with creative, like, the beautiful thing is the response, like, okay, boom, this was announced. A week later, virtual rave-a-thon.
Yeah.
Involving people, contests, like the creativity's still there. If you're at home and you have an idea, jump on, try it. And don't place an expectation on it. You know what I mean? Just have fun with it, because it stems with that. It's developing that passion. And you definitely have that passion to do something for 25 years. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the progression of the genre, the hardcore techno genre over the years, like going from the classic era of trance to now. What have you seen? And then, yeah, we'll start there. What have you seen?
So when I started, I mentioned I started off in San Francisco, which has always been the hotbed for house music. House reigns supreme there from the very beginning. So my first records were house records. It was like Rosala and You know, like Everybody's Free to Feel Good, and you know, like like CC Peniston, and I knew right away that I had to sort of kind of distinguish myself from everyone else, most of the other DJs in San Francisco. So I kind of, you know, being like a teenager, like a kid, I sort of thought in the extreme. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go hardcore, you know, because that was somewhere almost like at that time on the spectrum of electronic music, it was almost at the other end of the spectrum from like house music. And so I started buying hardcore records, and I told myself I'm going to be like the hardest DJ there is, you know, like, and it was tough in San Francisco because I was the only one playing that genre, and I received love, I received backlash, just like I guess with anything, but I received enough support to where I could keep it going. And like early on, when I first moved on from the sort of like feeling comfortable to go from the bedroom, I used to hang out at the store on Haight Street called Housewares. Shouts out to Perry. And he had a loft upstairs that overlooked, it was a rave clothing store. So they sold like Fresh Jive. Shouts out to Rick.
There you go.
Like Clobber and Gat, you know, like, and they sold mixtapes. And so he would let me come in every weekend. I would take my Creative Records on the bus from where I lived, and sometimes I'd bring my turntables on the bus, and I would have 4 seats with like my mixer and, you know, stack of records, and I would transfer like a couple times to get there, and I would walk up to Haight Street, I would set it up, and all weekend, you know, like 8-10 hours a day, I would just mix and mix and mix. And the ravers would come into the store, you know, to get like tickets or to get clothing and to get mixtapes, and they would hear my music. And so so that's how I really became like out, is from Housewares and just playing inside the store and having ravers come in, and promoters, you know, like they would say, oh, like who is that? Like, that's a very unique sound. Like, they weren't used to it. And then Perry, who owned the store, would be like, oh, there's this mixtape right there. You know, you might want to pick it up. So then they took their mixtape home with them, and then they shared it, they dubbed it. And so I struggled a lot in San Francisco, like at first, to get gigs. You know, like I was hustling, you know, for gigs, but it was hard when everyone's playing house music, you know, because when I made that trip, that faithful trip to LA, and I went down there and I really heard like techno, like the harder brother, sister of house music, you know, and like old school techno breaks. And I was like, man, like the music I am playing and I love house, by the way, but the music that I was playing, like, it exists, and there's raves for it down here, and people are, you know, like raving out to it. And so I really fell into like the hardcore scene, and I think, again, right place, right time in history. I got known for being like hardcore techno. And that was a really sort of underground genre. We were getting our records from Holland, like Rotterdam specifically, from Germany, from England. Very, very few from the States. There were some coming from New York, from Industrial Strength Records. Shouts out Lenny.
Yes.
Lenny D. And so I predominantly played hardcore techno from like 94, but just to kind of step back a moment, before that, before hardcore techno, like the Rotterdam sound really kind of existed, I played the equivalent, like from 92 to 94, I played old school techno breaks, which was the hardcore at that time. That was the hardcore. So when I say hardcore, it kind of has different kind of meanings to it. But the early 90s, hardcore is like Two Bad Mice, like Alternate 8, like Eon. It was that it was a different sound. And then around like 94, like when Rotterdam Records kicked off, it changed into like more of the 4/4 beat.
Yeah.
Like Hoover sounds, like Dominator, like those type of like rougher sounds. And so from that, really up until like 2004, that's what I played, hardcore techno. And I remember having a conversation with Pasquale right around 2003 or so. And I was like, I really miss playing classics, like classic techno, classic house. Because I did play house, and I did play techno, classic trance. But I was so known for hardcore techno. He was like, dude, I don't know if you can switch it over because, people know you as that. And, when they think of Demigod, they think hardcore techno. And I don't know if people are going to like accept you, really think of you playing anything else. And he was right at that time. That's what people like really knew me as, right? Although I was becoming a little disenchanted with the music, like I really loved classics music. And so when I dropped out for a few years and then I came back, and only for a few years because I went to school. When I came back, a lot of those people that knew Demigod as hardcore, they weren't really around in the scene anymore. So that was like my green light to be like, okay, I think I can go back to playing all the genres of classic, trance, house, techno, drum and bass, some hardcore, but that was my opportunity to kind of reinvent myself and to go back to my roots of the music that I loved. And so it was crazy. I should have assumed you did your research, prior to the interview, but when you started saying like the hardcore, I'm like, oh man, because in a way I'm trying to keep that under wraps a little bit. Because I'm all about the classics right now. And but it's a part of me, it's part of my history. Just to share like a really quick cool story with you.
Yeah.
At the end of day 3 of EDC virtual rave-a-thon, after we closed down the broadcast, one of my friends, John, 12th Planet, was hanging out. And he's an old school hardcore raver. He started from the LA hardcore scene. Awesome. Like he was a hardcore kid, before anything. And we were talking, and he was, so like, what was your, like sort of like going back in history? And it was him, I, and Pasquale talking, and the mixtapes came up, right? Yeah. And he's like, man, I remember the first mixtape I ever had, like the first tape. And he's like, on one side was Randy Core, and on the other side, like, what was like the sickest set. And I was like, well, what tape was that? He's like, that was Atrocities. I was like, for a legend like 12th Planet, who's like blown up, and I'm so super proud of him, for like an LA hardcore kid to come up and just be like this world dominant force in bass music, to be like, dude, Demigod, like you were the first tape I ever had. Like, it was just like, it was amazing, like to be able to like, I love the scene. I love the people in it so much. And just for us to like not have any like pretensions, because I know how huge he is, like,
yeah,
he was just like, dude, much love to you, like that was the first mixtape I ever had. And I was like, man, I love you. Like I'm so proud of you, like look at us coming up. The scene is such a beautiful like part of my life, and I know it is for so many other people too. For sure.
Shouts out to 12th Planet. I mean, same thing. My friend one day was like, she texted me, she's like, yeah, there was a DJ, she Ubers, and she's like, there was a DJ in my car, I didn't even know him. And I was like, who was it? What was his name? He said like something Planet. I said, 12th Planet? He's like, it's like, yeah, 12th Planet. And I'm like, dude, that guy was in your car. Like he's a legend. And yeah, it's beautiful to see that. And it's cool how you mentioned like, the people that are looked at and are blowing up now, and they definitely know their history, and they'll drop like, it's because of this and that. And so once again, like we're all interwoven in this tapestry, and it's stuff like certain artists are bringing that back, right? And they're playing the song that you know, from 20 something years ago, and I'm hearing it, I'm like, dude, that is still banging, you know? So how about this? If you had a few tracks, you know, because even Pasquale was doing that too in his room. He's like, hey, I want to play you guys this track here, and this is something I used to play back in the day. What are some classic tracks that you would recommend to just, you know, up and coming raver? You know, I'm super open. I listen to everything. You know, I grew up skateboarding and like listening to rock, and then I played basketball. Actually, I played basketball overseas in the Philippines and Mexico, so I was like different music. And then my cousin was like, "Hey, I want you to come to a festival. It's gonna change your life." And I'm like, "Okay," you know, as I'm shooting my jump shots. And while I was visiting the States, I attended a festival with him, and that was it. That was it. After that, the energy, the amount of people in the crowd, just this whole new world. I was like, I want to be a part of this. This feels like a giant team community, and the rest was history. And then we ended up getting lost at the event, losing friends, and it would kind of always happen. And we're like, dude, I mean, we're festival goers. We just want to make this for other festival goers who probably have the same problem. We want them to enjoy their time here. So then it birthed Festiie, and we just went on this journey, created a prototype that we could wear at events and like keep us together without cell phone service, Wi-Fi or data, and little app that works all offline. But it's thank you. But it's like all because we love the community too. It's like, dude, it's so history lesson. Because I mean, like I said, we will listen to a bunch of tracks. And what do you recommend? Just throw some classics. You're already name dropping some, but keep that list going.
So because there's multiple genres, and I don't want to do any of the classic genres a disservice. I think the best way, and I guess this is me, hopefully this doesn't sound like a plug, but it's really the best way I can answer your question. We started Insomniac Classics Radio, and we have a weekly radio show on Thursdays at 2 p.m. And I think there's 2 songs that I repeated in 31 episodes. So there's 31 hours right now. We're on episode 32 coming up on Thursday. 31 hours are archived right now of classic music. And so when you say like classics, like a history lesson, I mean, I really, you know, it comes up to almost to the present day. You know, because some songs are instantaneously classic. It doesn't have to be 25, 30 years old, you know. So I tried to create with the radio show more than a history lesson, because it's so relevant to today. There's so much of those elements, those sounds, the Hoovers, in today's production, that it's so recognizable, even if you don't recognize like the original track. So if anyone really wants it, and this is custom tailored to Insomniac, so you know, having been there all along the way, like I remember tracks that were played at the Friday Weekly, at the first Nocturnals, at the first EDC, all the way up to the present. So if someone wants to like really get an idea of the history of Insomniac and of rave music, I strongly suggest you check out Insomniac Classics Radio. It's on Thursdays at 2 p.m. You can go to the Insomniac app. There's a radio button on there. It's one click, insomniacradio.com. And every week is just, I don't even want to say history lesson, because that almost kind of means like it's in the past, because it's so relevant to today. You know, like I was looking at like the comments people were posting, you know, after like Benny Benassi said, and like Mai said, and like, you know, or like whenever someone would drop like a classic, anything from like Alice DJ to the Rouge, you know, Sandstorm, you know, like people would flip out. They'd be like, oh my, you know, like, so I don't want to say it's a history lesson, because like I didn't really like history class in school, because it's so relevant to today. So if you want to get a better understanding of where we are in the moment and where we're heading in the future, we have to be conscious and aware and knowledgeable about the past.
Exactly.
And so Insomniac Classics Radio every Thursday at 2 p.m. on the Insomniac app, on the insomniacradio.com. It's a 1-hour show, and it's just classic banger after classic banger. And so that's, without, and I wanted to kind of answer your question that way, because even if I reel off like 10 tracks right now, 10 songs, I'm going to miss 1,000.
Yeah.
And they're all so special to so many people, like they're so in touch with those songs that I just encourage anyone that's interested to tune into that radio show. And it's good vibes, it's positivity, and you also get a good understanding if you walked into Insomniac in 93, Nocturnal Wonderland 96, EDC 2001, EDC 2014, like what would you be hearing?
Yeah.
So that show is all about, you walk into Insomniac, these are the songs that were being played and the ones that people were raving out to.
Awesome. It's timeless. You know what I mean? That it was kind of a trick question, because you're like, man, I mean, the music is timeless, and you just said it. There are instant classics. There are stuff that is resurfaced, and everything has a special kind of place in people's hearts. And for every 10, there's 1,000 that aren't being mentioned. But definitely we'll check that out. Insomniac Classics.
Insomniac.
And it's cool you also name drop Benny Benassi's set, because I just want to take a moment to like shout out to Benny Benassi, because that with the whole vinyl analog, I was like, yo, because my dad was just DJ locally in LA, little parties and stuff like that. But I vividly remember growing up as a kid. And then when Benny Benassi was like playing these tracks, I was like, oh my gosh, I did not know this was going to happen tonight. Like I literally was going back in time and seeing my dad play those tracks, because I'm like 3 years old looking up like, what is this one? What is this one? So it was just like the nostalgia part, as you mentioned. And that's kind of what the Insomniac Classics, it seems like that's what that movement is, right?
Yeah, every episode is different. We cover all the genres. I'm on a bit of a trance streak with the latest episodes, but I did like a funky disco inspired like house one for last week's one. We do like techno breaks, we do techno, we do house, we do we cover all the genres, because that's the great thing about Insomniac Classics. It's that it's all the genres, all the years. So it's just, it's not narrow, so you can go and you can explore, and you can hopefully you can come across music that you didn't know about, or you can come across music that just triggers those memories.
Yeah.
And so my hope is that, again, like to answer your question, is people maybe use this interview and like hearing me talk to kind of inspire them to explore the roots, the history, the culture of Insomniac. And a great way to do that is through the radio show, because it's weekly.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if I'm working hard to bring back classics and nostalgia and the memories as much as I can, with back like sort of through the company, so
yeah.
We have Insomniac Classics Records coming out.
Awesome.
We have merch, we have so it's growing, and the more that our headliners interact with us, it's just going to keep growing. So I'm so excited about it, and but none of it happens without the headliners. So I guess I want to take this opportunity to thank you guys so much. You guys make all of this happen, like all of it happen, and we wouldn't exist without you. And that's why Pasquale has so many giveaways, that you saw this weekend. He just wants to give back, and I want to just give back, and however you think we can make festivals better, the radio show, the records, just communicate with us and we'll integrate it, because it's really all for you guys. And and like we're all coming up through this together and experiencing the moment as one. So I really appreciate all you guys. Like I respond to all the messages I get, you know, like each one is like special, and I just want everyone to know you're so appreciated and loved, and Insomniac loves you.
We love you guys. Thank you guys. I mean, just the fact that, like I said, you were willing to jump on. It wasn't like, oh, Insomniac, I mean, to be honest, you could have come up with a million reasons to why not to do it, you know, like, oh, but all you needed was one reason to be like, nah, like I'm jumping on, and here we are talking about, you know, those moments, you know, walking through, and even I'm stoked and excited to jump on Insomniac Classics, because my whole thing is like, I just play, you know, for the family, little friend gigs here and there, whatnot. But I love, like, when I'm with my family and, you know, they're older, and I just play something just a little retro, and then they're like grooving to it, and I'm like, I just, that feeling, you know, because my dad would play, you know, vinyl, and then I showed up one day with a DJ, and he's like, what's this? And then, but then within like 20 minutes, this guy's mixing better than I am. Because then he goes, he's like, are you using your ear or are you using your eye? And then, so it's like, oh, and just like that moment of like learning from one another, and seeing like, oh, that's how you're doing it. It's super cool. And I feel like just the magic is still there, everyone. Like, just because we aren't physically able to be at festivals, the spirit is still live 100% within all of us. So, I mean, thank you for, like I said, for jumping on. Shouts out to Pasquale. Like, we love you guys. We're going to keep pushing hard. Like, even with Festiie, it's been a journey. You know, when we first started this, we thought our product is going to be in every festival in 4 months. And here we are 4 years later. But you know what? Passion and sacrifice. And we're going to keep going. And it's all about, you know, our motto is Festival Goers Unite. It's about whatever we can do to bring the community together, you know, whether it's bringing inspiring stories, whether it's trying to, you know, push out a product, whether it's a few other things. Like, that's it, giving back, you know, and that's where it is. How can we find you and just say thank you, show our support, you know, because we really appreciate just everything, the vibes. I mean, it's decades of love.
And we're gonna keep this going, you know, and like the way you said it was so beautiful, and like we this community helps each other out, you know, we try to bring each other up, and you know, in so many different ways. And so like with the radio show, like you know, like you explaining like what you're doing is, man, like, it's inspirational to hear like your energy and passion behind it. So I mean, I would love to have you on the radio show. Maybe you can talk about like the classic track, like, because I have a headliner segment that we do.
Yeah.
We usually have people come into HQ, and then they record, they say like what their favorite like classic track is, you know, why it's special to them, and they say like a little bit about themselves. Like, you know, it'd be awesome if you can come on the radio show and like just kind of share what you just shared right now on your show, you know, so we can like blend the audiences. And you know, this community is so special, and I don't take any of it for granted. So this opportunity to be on your show and to meet you and to hear about your passion and what you're, you know, what you're trying to create and what you're sacrificing for, and you know, you got a fan right here. So yeah, I'm gonna hit you up after the show for this.
Yeah, most definitely, man. That'd be an honor, and you know, I definitely have some stuff to share, because same thing will still happen. I'll be driving in the car, a family trip or whatnot, and my mom will play Castles in the Sky, and I'll be like,
yes,
Mom, like, is this why you know? And I'm like,
yes.
You know, it sends me off to go on my own journey and research, and then be like, wow, like, so it's just those type of moments. And you guys invoke that. So thank you so much, Insomniac Records. Thank you so much, Insomniac Classics. Thank you so much, DJ Demigod. Again, everyone, my name is Desmond Beristain. Festiie Files. Peace, love, unity, and respect. Okay, so passing it out to you, a little special announcement.
Yeah, so I just want to use this opportunity to announce that Insomniac Classics Records is launching this year. We have some really exciting releases coming up. We're doing the first ever Insomniac sample pack, an Insomniac Classic sample pack that has all the classic sounds, from the Dominator noises to the Hoovers, all the kicks, all acid bass lines, pianos. It's amazing. I'm working with, with my boy Adam Sheridan from Love Parade and from Cream. So we have the sample pack coming out on Insomniac Classic Records. We also have a 12-track compilation with amazing artists. I mean, we're talking like Dillinger and Komodo and Doc Martin. And I mean, it's like the classics of the classics. So we're releasing that digitally, remastered. And also we're doing a double vinyl release, special limited edition that's going to be at EDC Vegas. And also, I have a new track coming out. It's my first one, and God knows how long. So,
yes.
So it's finished, and that's coming out. And I'm also collaborating with Adam Sheridan and Krista Kleiner, who's this amazing singer. And we're doing an original track that's also going to be coming out this year. And so there's a lot of things happening with Insomniac Classic Records. So big ups to the records department, Joe and Aaron, and Greg. Much love to you. And we're going forward with this, and I'm so excited I can't even talk. I just wanted to, again, this is all for the love of the headliners and for the community. And we're just so excited to be able to share this with you. So please be on the lookout for that. They're all dropping very soon. And thank you for letting me just plug that for a little bit. I felt nervous like doing a plug, but it's all for the love and it's all for the community, and we put our heart and souls into this. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
No, that's I'm stoked. Once again, shouts out Insomniac Classic Records. It's coming, it's launching. And then you just said you have sample packs, Insomniac sample packs, Insomniac Classic Records sample packs, and then you're releasing DJ Demigod coming out with a track. And I swear, when I last looked up your last release, it was like early 2000s, I think.
Yeah, it was 2002. I did a track for the film From Hell with like Johnny Depp.
Yes.
That wasn't like a dance track, but that was the last time I actually ever produced anything. And what inspired me was going into headquarters, and like meeting Adam, and like just working with the records department, and just being around that energy and vibe. And then once I played at the Nocturnal Rave-a-thon, that was like, I'm like, oh, like I felt so inspired to create. And so this is the result of that. And it's good. It's such good vibes. And I hope you guys enjoy it, because really we put our heart and souls into this, and it's all about spreading the Insomniac love.
Exactly. A reinvigorated DJ Demigod releasing a track soon. Will it be available vinyl by any chance?
The compilation is coming out on double vinyl, with our new logo, which is being designed by the head of Insomniac Merch and Insomniac Ltd, Rick Klutz. Double vinyl for that. The sample pack is digital, and it's for all the producers out there. It's going to give you all the tools to create bomb productions, like awesome sounds. And it's got riffs, it's got one-offs, it's and it's the first ever Insomniac sample pack, and it's a homage to the classic sound, and it's dropping soon. So be on the lookout for that. I'm sure I'll talk about it on my IG. I'm trying to build that up a little bit. I know it's lagging, but we got some big things coming up this year, and hopefully we can keep spreading that Insomniac love.
Oh, most definitely. Big things coming from Insomniac Classic Records, Insomniac Classic, DJ Demigod at DJ Demigod for Instagram. People, show him some love because you know we got a lot of love to show. So give you a nice little hug from over here. And just to friendly remind everybody, peace, love, unity, and respect. Festiie Files.
Festiie Files.